I want to share with you a story about a time when I was crippled by my values instead of letting them impact and influence how I lead. Many years ago, right after college, I was in my first professional job and I worked at a kids camp. And one of my responsibilities was to recruit, train, lead, empower, correct, and just generally help all of our college volunteers to be successful. I was thrilled at the opportunity because those things are the kinds of things that get me up in the morning. They are core to who I am, and I was thrilled to have a job that so closely identified with who I am as a person. But not everything was perfect. We had a volunteer who was 100% behind the mission of our organization. He was hardworking, his heart was in the right place, but he just couldn't always row in the same direction as the rest of the boat. He sometimes struggled to communicate well with others and he couldn't follow directions. At first it was just a little bit frustrating, but eventually it led to some safety concerns. And at a place with hundreds of kids and dozens of staff, there just wasn't a lot of space for people who create safety concerns. And so a decision was made that we had to let him go. Since I was the person that hired him, I was now the one responsible for firing him. How was I going to fire this guy? I'm so compassionate and I care so much about loving people and making a space for them to feel welcome that I felt like having to get rid of him was just going to eat me apart inside because it didn't line up with my values. I was absolutely hamstrung by the way my values were in conflict with the actions that I had to take as a part of my job. I didn't know what to do, and so I went and I got my boss, Jason, and I asked him for some help. And he said he'd help me, but he said that I was gonna come along and I was gonna watch it happen so I could learn from it. And what I saw was incredible. I've never seen Jason write down his values, but I have to imagine it's some of the same kind of stuff that I would write down. Love and empowering other people and caring for people and building community and all that kind of stuff. So we went and we found this volunteer and we sat him down and Jason listened to him, heard some of his complaints about working there, told him a little bit of what was going on, was incredibly honest with him, and then told him that he had to go. The volunteer stood up, gave us both hugs, thanked us for the opportunity to be there, and then left. It was remarkable. A few weeks later, that volunteer showed up at a fundraiser we were having, and he ran up and he gave me a big hug and he was so excited to see me, and I thought to myself, what is this guy doing? We just fired him. And then it got even better. He unbuttoned the top button of his shirt, and amongst all the other tattoos that this guy has of the important things in his life, front and center was our logo. You see, I thought that my values were keeping me from being the leader that I needed to be in that moment. But what Jason taught me is the reality is that the values that we carry, the things that define who we are, actually help carve a path for us through the tough stuff in leadership. My lesson from this, and what I hope you're hearing from my story, is that your values are who you are. They are not problematic. You are not inadequate because of them, and they do not disqualify you from leadership. And as you learn to live and lead out of your values, you will find that they do not get in the way, but they actually make you capable beyond measure.